With Sky Sports, a network based in London, the celebrated and vilified quarterback said he can still help a team win a championship. Kaepernick, now 36, hasn't played in 7 years. He was essentially blackballed by the NFL for kneeling during the national anthem in 2016 to protest social injustices in America. New Chargers coach Jim Harbaugh is the one NFL coach who might be willing to talk to his owner about giving Kaepernick a chance. Chargers owner Dean Spanos would have the final say. When Harbaugh was coaching the 49ers, Kaepernick was his starting quarterback for 2 seasons. Kaepernick led the 49ers to the Super Bowl in 2013 and the NFC title game in 2014. Harbaugh and Kaepernick have kept in touch. Last year, Harbaugh invited Kaepernick to the University of Michigan spring game and named him an honorary captain. Stay tuned on this situation. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
I need your dollar, that's what I need.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates small businesses, the enduring lifeblood of our community, with the launch of the KBLA SMB Marketplace. For the first time, small to medium-sized businesses will have an opportunity to promote their goods and services on KBLA and take advantage of our powerful reach and local marketing power. The SMB Marketplace is hosted exclusively on KBLA1580.com and is accessible from all our social media channels. Whether you're a small mom and pop restaurant, a car dealership, or a professional practitioner, we invite you to join in this new KBLA Talk 1580 initiative to promote your business. As a black-owned small business, you don't want to miss this unique opportunity to gain new customers on KBLA Talk 1580. For more information, contact us today at smb@kbla1580.com. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
And if I share with you my story, would you share your dollar with me? Time to get paid.
It's the boss, Bruce Springsteen, on Tavis, Smiley. Glad to have you with us in this hour. As promised in this hour, a conversation with Steven Van Zandt, legendary guitarist, bandmate, and beloved brother of the boss, Bruce Springsteen. He joins us in this hour, for the hour, and I'm glad about it, to talk about the new HBO documentary, Steven Van Zandt, Disciple. You might recall it was Steven Van Zandt who helped to organize the music industry against South African apartheid. We owe Van Zandt a debt for that. We will talk about why he believes artists should use their voices to both entertain and empower. Before I commence our conversation with Steven Van Zandt, here now the trailer for the HBO documentary, Steven Van Zandt, Disciple.
When you're overseas, people don't look at you like a guitar player or a cab driver. You're an American. I never thought of myself as an American. I'm from New Jersey.
Stop the world for a minute. He was a great performer, great songwriter, great producer.
I love his enthusiasm and encyclopedic knowledge of music.
He's a businessman. He's a philanthropist. He really is a Renaissance man.
I'm losing my balls over here! Miami Steve was a character that I was playing in the E Street Band. The Dean Martin in our rock and roll Rat Pack.
We were so close, I just wanted him near me. He just became my rock and roll brother instantly, you know? But he did need to take his shot.
Okay, that wasn't supposed to happen. We're going to get that fixed. We're going to play that trailer for you again, top to bottom. We played it earlier in our program. I'm not sure what happened. We had a technical glitch there. But Steven Van Zandt, as long as you can hear me, that's the critical thing. How are you, sir?
Good, Tavis. How you been?
Man, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate. It's good to hear your voice again. I apologize for that. My board op is looking at me trying to figure it out. We played the clip earlier, and I promise you, in just a minute, we'll get it back together, and we're going to play it for those who didn't hear the first hour. I want them to hear that the trailer in its entirety. But I will say this: that everybody is in this documentary. First of all, the boss is in it. You heard his voice before that thing went haywire on us. You heard the voice of one Paul McCartney. You heard the voice of, you were about to hear the voice of Bono. Everybody is in this documentary. It is, and I'm not saying this to Brown Nose, it is a testament to you, Stephen, and all that you've done over the course of your life, your work, your witness, your artistry, your advocacy. It's a testament to you that all these people participated in this documentary, sir.
Well, it was amazing to me, and I enjoyed it because I had nothing to do with it whatsoever. I mean, Bill Tech, the director, and the two producers, Rob Cotto and David Fisher, did an amazing job. I mean, just hearing my friends, some of my lifelong friends, talk about my work, it's the kind of conversation you just never have in person, man, you know? And it was just a remarkable thing for me to experience, I must say.
Yep.
It's just amazing.
Let me start with this broad philosophical question, and we'll work our way. I'm glad I got you for the hour. There's a whole lot to talk about in this hour. When you look at what your life has become, we heard you say at the beginning of that documentary clip, the trailer, that you're just a guy, just a kid from New Jersey. When you look at all that your life has been, and all that you've accomplished, all that you've done, we'll work through that in this hour. I'm particularly excited, as I always have been, about the work you did bringing together the industry around the issue of apartheid in South Africa. We'll spend some good time on that. I can assure you that's on my docket. But when you look at all that your life has become as a kid from New Jersey, you think what, Stephen?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, I think of nothing but gratitude, first of all.
Yeah.
I think we are the luckiest generation ever, and I'm the luckiest guy in the luckiest generation ever. I mean, just growing up when we did, man, in that period I call a renaissance, and when the greatest art being made is also the most commercial, you are in the middle of a renaissance. Mm-hmm. And that's what the 60s was, man. It was unbelievable. One miracle after the other artistically, keeping us lifted 6 inches off the ground all the time. In spite of quite a bit of chaos and quite a bit of negativity going on in terms of Vietnam and civil rights and assassinations and all kinds of stuff going on in the 60s, but we remained hopeful and optimistic every single day, and I think that was based on the music we were hearing constantly. It's amazing back then. So and we were very lucky also. We had plenty of places to play if you were in a band. Yeah. Because we had a band culture after the British invasion came, after the Beatles came, our culture switched into a band culture. If you weren't in a band, you were going out to see a band almost every night. It was amazing. Yep.
Stephen Van Zandt is one of the greatest guests of all time because he always gives it to you. I've only asked him 2 or 3 questions now, and I've got follow-ups already. I want to talk about that notion, his notion of hope and optimism. That turns me on. I want to talk about the music back in the day. I want to talk about what he just teed up, the 60s and all the chaos and all the tumult, the 60s then and what he's saying now in real time. He mentioned a Renaissance era. Well, Stephen Van Zandt is a Renaissance man. As we unpack all the things he's done in his career, you'll get a better sense of that. Just getting started. Glad I got him for the hour. The guest in this hour is Stephen Van Zandt. His new HBO documentary is called Stephen Van Zandt, Disciple. We'll talk about that and a great deal more when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent. So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle.
Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Free and Gentle. This back-to-school season, Tide and Downy are giving back with $1.5 million in scholarships. Enter to win. No purchase necessary. US/TC 17+. End September 30th. Rules. Tide.com/scholarship/official rules.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition smart bed. Limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
He's a paradigm pioneer and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
I am honored to have as my guest in this hour the legendary guitarist Steven Van Zandt. There's a new documentary on HBO about his life and legacy. It's called Steven Van Zandt, Disciple, now streaming on Max. I said to Steven a moment ago, we played the trailer in the first hour of today's program. It's a 3-hour show every day. We played it in the first hour, excited about his joining us in the second hour. We're in the second hour now, and for some reason the thing wouldn't play. As we say in the black church, Steven, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. We're going to try this again. Here now is the trailer for Steven Van Zandt, Disciple.
When you're overseas, people don't look at you like a guitar player or a cab driver. You're an American. I never thought of myself as an American. I'm from New Jersey.
He was a great performer, great songwriter, great producer.
I love his enthusiasm and encyclopedic knowledge of music.
He's a businessman. He's a philanthropist. He really is a Renaissance man.
I'm losing my balls over here! Miami Steve was a character that I was playing in the E Street Band. The Dean Martin in our rock and roll Rat Pack.
We were so close, I just wanted him near me. He just became my rock and roll brother instantly, you know? But he did need to take his shot.
15 years, we finally made it. And I quit the night before payday. I went from artist to activist.
I married this fun rock and roll guy, and all of a sudden, he's in South Africa.
Steve got together different genres of music.
The amount of artists that were involved.
Rockers, rappers, R&B stars.
Stephen understood rock and roll owed a debt to the continent of Africa.
There's this guy who was so well-read and so politically astute, but dressed like a dervish or a pirate. He's nothing less than a revolutionary.
But I was spiritually exhausted. I said what I wanted to say, and no record company wanted to sign me anymore. So I walked my dog for 7 years. I wanted to be very different, as different as I could be, thinking I'm never going back to music again. You know.
Steven, the second act, it's amazing. All of a sudden, he's in television, radio. He's building a record label.
Rock and roll kept him alive. And I really do believe it's his religion.
One of the great horses in rock and roll, and one of the great horses for Justice Little Steven.
Steve's a true believer.
There's something about rock that's unique in the way it communicates emotion, inspiration, and motivation. This is what it's all about.
It's live radio, so stuff happens sometimes, but y'all know me. I never let misery have the last word. And so we come back at it a second time. And now you hear in its entirety the documentary trailer for Stephen Van Zandt, Disciple. Now I can get this conversation going in earnest. Stephen, you've already said a few things I want to give you a chance to unpack. I'm glad we have the hour. Let me just start with this. Reflect for me, if you will, on the comment you made earlier on the 60s. And today, all the tumult, all the chaos of then, how would you juxtapose then and now, sir?
Ooh, baby. We only have an hour. The tumult.
Yeah.
Well, the culture was going through it's one of its biggest changes in history. Let's start with that. You know, we were experiencing what I thought was going to be the biggest generation gap in history, although I think we can make an argument for one that's going on right now is more subtle, but maybe as big or bigger. But let's just stay with the generation gap for a minute. Up until our generation in the 60s, you didn't question the government. You know, you didn't question anything, really. You know, everything was kind of just moving right along. We were the richest country in the world after World War II. We had luxury for the first time, which is how the teenager was created. There had never been such a demographic called a teenager before that. You know, you were an adolescent and then a couple awkward years, and then you were an adult. Well, suddenly we had this thing called luxury time, and a teenager was invented, and so all kinds of things had to be invented for them in the marketplace, and suddenly, you know, that led to a bit of questioning. The government, starting with probably with the beat poets, you know, with the Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsbergs and those cats and others, you know, poets leading to the Gil Scott Herons of the world, you know, and other poets who, for the first time, you know, we were questioning our government's actions because of the Vietnam War, which was very, very divisive at the time. You know, I mean, now it's acknowledged that it was a horrible mistake.
That's right.
You know, but at the time, you know, it was looked at like, you know, being patriotic. You know, people were associating it with, you know, World War II, which of course was a legitimate, you know, fight against, you know, authoritarianism and you know, something that we have to deal with right now. By the way, there's a common thread right there. Yeah. But you know, basically we were dealing with chaos in every respect. I mean, civil rights was finally coming to being. Keeping in mind for the audience who was a little bit younger out there, we didn't have a Civil Rights Act till '64. Voting Rights Act till '65, a Housing Act till 1968. I mean, this was, you know, very late in the game culturally. So we were still fighting for basic civil rights in those days. And that was going on. And then we had assassinations and all kinds of riots and cities burning down. So the culture was going through major changes and questioning the status quo, if you will. You know, questioning the way things were in terms of race, gender. I mean, women's rights was just starting out, and I'm ashamed to say we never did pass the ERA. I'm afraid to say Equal Rights Amendment for women that never did get passed. Okay, you know, but that was a fight. Stopping the Vietnam War. Just consciousness. I call it. Not only was it chaos, but it was also the birth of consciousness. It was the beginning of the mass media. You know, starting to get out there. You know, so suddenly, you know, there'd be college protests in California, and then next thing you know, there was college protests in Paris. You know, and London, and so, you know, it was the beginning of that globalization and the birth of consciousness in general, where we started to question everything that our parents and grandparents had taught us and what our history books were teaching us. And it was a very so it's hard to compare that to right now, where I think we know very clearly what we need to do right now, which is, you know, basically having to stop this wannabe Fourth Reich, you know, which is coming on you know, you know, but you know, so it's a little hard to compare, Tavis, but
no, I get it.
It was quite a wild time.
No, that description was apt. I mean, that's why you're such an amazing artist. That illustration you just painted was vivid, and I appreciate the response. Let me seize now on that phrase, the birth of consciousness. I hear that, I get it, and it makes perfect sense to me. Having studied, I wasn't born until 64, so I missed all of that as a baby. But it was an era that I think you're right about describing it aptly as the birth of consciousness for many in this country. So here's my question now, back to something else you said earlier. Tell me then, in this era of the birth of consciousness, about the music, how the music fits in.
Well, there's a major role because we in music were integrated long before society was. Okay, so we're growing up. Now, all right, let me just start a little bit earlier. Let me start in the 50s. The radio was completely segregated. You were the white DJs were supposed to play white rock and roll for their white audience, and the same thing on the black side. Then you had some very courageous white DJs like Alan Freed starting to play the original black music, which had been covered. Little Richard being covered by Pat Boone.
That's right. That's
that
right.
whole routine going on, right? So Alan Freed starts playing the original black records, and of course the white teenagers just loved it, of course, and so that was the beginning, and then along comes Motown, who interestingly, Berry Gordy, the genius behind Motown, was basically trying to create black music that white people could relate to, okay, but which he did, but he also created the greatest black music ever created. So it was not only something that white people could relate to, but it was something that black people could be very proud of.
Yes.
And so we're growing up, and it wasn't just it was Curtis Mayfield in Chicago.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Alan Toussaint in New Orleans. It's Stax in Memphis with Sam and Dave and Otis Redding. Atlantic with Wilson Pickett. I mean, we had one great soul. Sam Cooke. We had James Brown. We had so many. The rock and roll and the soul music were married at that time. I mean, you would watch a rock and roll TV show, and the Rolling Stones would come on, and then Smokey Robinson would come on, and then the Kinks or the Animals would come on, and Curtis Mayfield would come on. I mean, so you had a complete integration of black and white soul music and rock music at that time, which was completely affecting our teenage minds. So we didn't understand prejudice. We didn't grow up with that kind of prejudice that the society was holding on to, and I must say still holds on to, unfortunately. Yeah. But we didn't have that. And sports was helping that too.
Sure.
We must give credit to sports also. But it was sports and basically rock and roll and soul and rock and soul that was integrating our minds, integrating our society, 10 years, whatever, before society did.
So as a kid growing up in New Jersey in this era, how did music become your muse? Take me back, and again, this all laid out in the documentary, but how does music become your muse? Why the guitar as an instrument for you? Tell me about your journey musically.
Yeah, well, very quickly. I mean, I was not that interested in show business, really. I was buying a few records, a few singles, but I wasn't really associating the singles even with the artists that were making them necessarily. But along comes what we call the British Invasion, which was, all these British bands who were listening to American music and then bring it back to America. For people like kids like me who had I never heard of Chuck Berry. I never heard of Muddy Waters or Bo Diddley. Why would I? How would I have heard of them, right? That was the 50s. So the 50s era had gone, and the 60s era was now upon us. And those cats weren't on the radio anymore, So here comes the British Invasion, Beatles, Dave Clark 5, the Rolling Stones, the Who, the Kinks, the Yardbirds, a bunch of bands. And the thing about that was we had never seen bands before, okay? If you went to your high school dance, it was an instrumental group. And then the sax player would maybe sing one song, and so the concept of 4 or 5 guys, singing and playing, and then eventually writing their own songs, which was really something.
Yeah.
This was new, all right? And this is what appealed to me because, like I said, I wasn't that interested in show business. Now here come the Beatles. February 9th, 1964, and we caught them halfway through their career. All right, they've been together like 57. They were gone in 69. So by 1964, they were incredible.
Right.
I mean, the harmony was perfect. You know, they had this new hairstyles and new clothes, and they were witty in their interviews. They were just mind-blowingly sophisticated already in their early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And so they opened up this whole new world to us, this world of the band, you know, and that started to appeal to me because I'm like, man, I like that idea because it's communicating something different. It's communicating friendship and family and ultimately community, you know. And so, but they were a little too good. You couldn't look at them and say, man, I think I could do that. You know what I mean? It was just a little bit young, you know. So luckily, 4 months later, here come the Rolling Stones. Okay.
Right.
And they're wearing like street clothes, and their hair ain't that perfect, you know, except for Brian Jones. And you know, they don't really have any harmony to speak of. They're like the first punk band, really, for real.
Right.
And so they made it seem easier than it was, and they made it seem accessible, you know. So the way I like to put it is the Beatles revealed a new world to us, and the Rolling Stones invited us in.
There you go.
And what was important to me was that Mick Jagger did not smile. And I had the first cat in show business that I'd ever seen that did not smile.
And why? I've never thought about it. I mean, I've seen Mick Jagger 1,000 times. Have never thought about it in that way. The fact that Mick Jagger did not smile meant what to you? How did you interpret that?
Well, yeah, it meant to me that this is not show business anymore. This is some kind of lifestyle. This is something else. You know, this is like and they were like missionaries. In the beginning, they were missionaries for American black blues.
Yeah.
That's what that was their purpose in life.
Yeah.
They didn't know they were going to cross over to the pop charts. And one of the miracles that they have performed over 40, 50, 60 years now is crossing over to the pop charts on a regular basis because they were never a pop band.
Right.
You know, they started off as absolute blues missionaries. And that came across to me. I was like, man, I want that lifestyle. I don't care about show business, but I want that lifestyle. You know, I mean, I want a group of us, you know, the team, the posse, the gang that are all working towards the same purpose. You know, I like that idea. You know, and that's what drew me in.
Yeah. This documentary called Steven Van Zandt Disciple is chock full of so much stuff. There's no way I could do justice to it in an hour. You'd have to check it out for yourself. It's now streaming on Max. I'm going to fast forward when we come forward to his time with the Boss. You heard in that trailer Steve tell the story that they had made it, and then the night before payday, he quit. So one could ask the question, and maybe I'll get to it, how did you and the Boss, Bruce Springsteen, get together in the first place? But that ain't really what fascinates me. What fascinates me is who quits the Boss? Once you get with Bruce Springsteen, who quits? So we'll do both. We'll talk about how they got together, how they became brothers. We'll talk about why he quit. We'll talk about that and a great deal more. Steven Van Zandt's our guest in this hour. I'm loving this. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The judge who oversaw Donald Trump's criminal trial in New York City is declining the former president's request to recuse himself from the case. It's the third time Judge Juan Merchan has rejected Trump's demands that he step aside. A Minnesota state trooper accused of killing an African-American motorist last summer during a traffic stop is back at work. Ryan Londrigan is back on the job in Golden Valley. He originally was charged with shooting and killing Ricky Cobb II. The USDA will expand testing for bird flu in beef entering the nation's food supply. The decision comes as almost 200 herds of dairy cattle have contracted bird flu since March. USDA officials said American beef and dairy products are still safe to consume. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer custom-made faux wood and real wood blinds and shutters, cellular shades, Roman shades, bamboo shades, exterior shades, and more, all at factory direct prices. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
Is this the tackle? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Colin Kaepernick still wants to play in the NFL. In an interview with Sky Sports, a network based in London, the celebrated and vilified quarterback said he can still help a team win a championship. Kaepernick, now 36, hasn't played in 7 years. He was essentially blackballed by the NFL for kneeling during the national anthem in 2016 to protest social injustices in America. New Chargers coach Jim Harbaugh is the one NFL coach who might be willing to talk to his owner about giving Kaepernick a chance. Chargers owner Dean Spanos would have the final say. When Harbaugh was coaching the 49ers, Kaepernick was his starting quarterback for 2 seasons. Kaepernick led the 49ers to the Super Bowl in 2013 and the NFC title game in 2014. Harbaugh and Kaepernick have kept in touch. Last year, Harbaugh invited Kaepernick to the University of Michigan spring game and named him an honorary captain. Stay tuned on this situation. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We must understand the politics of our community, and we must know what part politics play in our lives.
Questions about black voters, their disengagement, lack of information, and support or lack thereof for Democratic candidates have once again taken center stage as Democrats, Republicans, and independent candidates compete for this critical voting bloc. Will black voters abandon Democrats in this election, move historic numbers of votes toward the Republican nominee, or will they continue a decades-long trend of overperforming for Democratic candidates up and down the ballot? The stakes have never been higher for Black America. Tune in to KBLA's new show, The Black Pack, hosted by veteran political strategist Adrian Shropshire, every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. for a breakdown of the issues, rhetoric, polling, and more this election year. It's The Black Pack with Adrian Shropshire, Fridays from 4 to 6 p.m. exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What's up? I'm Miles.
Hey, and I'm Jara.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Maple Pepper Bacon Sandwich is how the flavors come together. First, I taste the smoky grilled chicken, then the pepper bacon with that maple bun, added with the sweet heat and the pickles.
I'm really sold on the pickle. It meets you in the middle with the sweetness and the heat.
It's spice-tastic.
Yum-licious.
Flavoristic.
The sandwich of the summer. The Maple Pepper Bacon Sandwich.
Order the Maple Pepper Bacon Sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Available for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Welcome to Chicago. A new chapter in black political history will soon be written in Chicago at the Democratic National Convention. KBLA Talk 1580 will be the only talk station in LA with 5 shows broadcasting live from the DNC in Chicago, August 19th through the 23rd. Dominique DePrima, Nicolai Corte, Ariva Martin, Adrian Shropshire, and Tavis Smiley will all be in Chicago bringing the convention to you like no other talk station in Southern California for the critical issues and conversations that matter most to you. Keep it locked to KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got Kamala covered.
Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? You know, my...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness. From my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and legendary guitarist Steven Van Zandt. His HBO documentary is called Steven Van Zandt, Disciple, now streaming on Max. I can assure you, you will not be disappointed in this documentary. Just so much good stuff in here. And again, I can't do justice to all you're going to see in the documentary in this hour, but I'm certainly going to tease you with why you need to check it out. Again, it's called Steven Van Zandt, Disciple, now streaming on Max. Honored to have Mr. Van Zandt as our guest in this hour. So, Steven, I'm just watching my time here. We heard the trailer that we played earlier when you tell the story, and then I quit. Tell me that story.
Well, I had gotten deeply into politics at that time. I started reading books for the first time in my life because on our European tour, we finally broke through on our fifth album, The River, and we were finally selling out for the first time. We finally had a hit record for the first time. We're selling out arenas, and we traveled to Europe really for the first time in a big way. And a kid asked me, why are you putting missiles in my country? And and it took me by surprise. I'm like, what are you talking about? It finally occurred to me. I'm a little slow when it comes to this stuff, and but it would not leave my head for a week or two, and I finally realized, when you're overseas, people see you as an American. And I just never really considered, what the obligations were, what was the responsibility of being an American. I just had never thought about it before, So I went home and I started reading books and reading about our foreign policy since World War II. And basically, I had grown up in a very, very patriotic, so-called patriotic house with an ex-Marine Goldwater Republican father. And like I said before, that generation did not question what the government. They just, my government, right or wrong, it is what it is. Right. So suddenly, we were taught that we were the heroes of democracy worldwide. And as I'm reading these books, I realized we weren't. We weren't always the heroes of democracy worldwide. We were supporting a whole bunch of really bad dictators.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So I kind of became addicted to politics at that point, and through a series of circumstances, which I explained in my book,
sure.
and it's in the movie too. I felt it was time to leave. So and explore this whole thing about just learning about myself. I never really paid much attention in school. Right. I wanted to learn about history. I wanted to learn about who's pulling the strings, man. Who's controlling our destinies exactly. What's actually going on here on this planet, and who am I and why am I here? And all those kind of basic fundamental questions that I never bothered to ask myself before because I was too tunnel vision, trying to make it in rock and roll, which was almost an impossibility, But anyway,
how old were you? Take me back right quick. How old were you, Steven, when you had this epiphany?
Oh, I was already old. I was 31.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I managed to get through the entire '60s without a political thought in my head. I mean, the '60s and '70s.
There's the line of the day. I got through the '60s without having a single political thought. That is the line of the day. For those who are curious, they'll learn more about this, of course. But for those who are curious, just give me the short version. I ain't trying to give it all away. How did you and the boss, two kids growing up in New Jersey, how did you and Springsteen ever connect?
Well, right after the Beatles played this very popular TV show on Sunday night called Ed Sullivan.
Oh yeah,
like a variety show. And in those days, there was only one TV in the house, so the whole family would watch it, and the variety shows would have something for every age group. And the act for the teenagers on that particular night, February 9th, 1964, was the Beatles. Which blew everybody's mind, And I swear to you, Tavis, the night before, February 8th, there wasn't one band in America, okay? And then February 10th, the night after, everybody had a band in the garage. I mean, it was that incredible, that much of a profound cultural change, okay?
Yeah.
But now most of these bands mercifully stayed in the garage.
Yeah.
Okay? But a few of us got out, and there was about 10, 12 bands in our region, in our area, and I had a band, and Bruce had a band.
Yeah.
So in those days, I mean, being in a band and being in rock and roll was not a legitimate business. Okay, it was not a legitimate career. It was one step away from being, a criminal.
Enterprise.
And as I've joked in the past, my parents would have preferred me to be a criminal because at least that was steady work.
Yeah.
But seriously, it was not. It was considered freaky. You were a freak if you were playing rock and roll. So so anybody who was in a band were automatically friends with each other because you were now in a weird tribe.
Yeah.
You were your own tribal kind of freak cult.
Yeah.
And so we became friends that way and realized. Most of the other bands were doing it as a hobby, doing it on the weekend, and they were going to go to college. They were going to go join their father's job, or they're going to join the military, or get into sports, whatever, And me and him, man, we had one thing in common. We didn't have no plan B. We didn't have any other interest. Okay, all we were interested in was rock and roll.
Yeah.
And so we became very close, I think, on that basis, strengthening each other's freaky choice of a career.
I'm trying to think of the right word, and I'm stumbling and struggling here because what Springsteen, Bruce Springsteen, has to say about you in this documentary is beyond kind. It's clear that you all love each other. You are brothers, beloved. You endured a lot. You accomplished a lot, and I just love seeing how expressive he is about his profound adoration and love and respect for you. When you look back at what you all achieved together, all these years later, two young kids from New Jersey, what do you think about what you all did together? It's quite amazing.
Well, yeah, and I'm constantly amazed by it. Tavis, I mean, I just got back from 6 weeks in Europe. Would you believe we're still getting bigger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not stopping.
Yeah.
Next year is 50 years, 50, and the promoters over there saying like, however many shows you want to do, you can do. And we're talking about stadiums over there.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about 60, 70, 80,000 people a night. Okay.
Right.
They're like, you can play as much as you want, and it's just incredible, and you can't help but be so grateful.
Yeah.
And I would like to think that it's because, you do good work and you do it consistently, and it pays off, I mean, I would like to think that that's still true in this world, if you, and I tell, all the classes I teach and all the speeches I give, I'm like, man, focus on the craft, man. Focus on the craft. The art will take care of itself.
Ooh,
okay.
Ooh. Say that again, Steven. Say that one more again, man. Say that one more again.
If you focus on the craft, the art will take care of itself.
Lord Jesus. Mic drop. Mic drop. Let's just pause for a second. I want that to settle in. If you focus on the craft, the art will take care of itself. The great philosopher Stephen Van Zandt has spoken. When we come forward, he is a Renaissance man. And I want to talk about that part of his work and his witness. I ain't got to South Africa yet, but I'm headed that way because it was Stephen Van Zandt who brought all these artists together, United Artists Against Apartheid, back in 1984. Let's talk about that with Stephen Van Zandt when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening.
Charitable listening.
It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone, and should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Tavis is like George and Wheezy. He's moving on up. Last year, Tavis was number 45 on the Talkers magazine list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America. Wait for it. Wait for it. The 2024 list was recently released, and Tavis has jumped to number 33 on the list of the nation's most important talkers, making him the highest-ranked African-American on the coveted roster. Congratulations to Tavis Smiley from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580. We've got you black.
Texting enrolls you into reoccurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text LION to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text LION to 42424. That's LION to 42424.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
Tavis Smiley's conversation continues right now with Steven Van Zandt, legendary guitarist, and I'm honored to have him on this program to talk about his new documentary. It's called Steven Van Zandt, Disciple. It's streaming right now on Max. I'm watching my time, Steven. This is good, man. This is rich. It's rich. But the time is getting away from me. Let me pivot right quickly. Let me cut across the field. This comes up in great detail in the documentary. It's one of my favorite parts of the doc. About you forming, the story of you forming United Artists Against Apartheid back in 1984. Tell me about that, Stephen.
I was studying, like I said, all of our domestic, all of our international relationships since World War II. South Africa came up on my list, and of all the conflicts around the world, I think there was 44 at the time. And I studied them all, looking at them, trying to see if we were on the right side or the wrong side. And South Africa came up as one of the conflicts we were on the wrong side of. And I couldn't find out much about it. It was one of them mysterious kind of things. It wasn't really an issue in America. I mean, we had a few people, Randall Robinson was doing the best he could do, and a few people would mention it from time to time, Harry Belafonte, but it just hadn't caught on as an issue, so it was quite mysterious. So I decided I needed to go down there, and I went down there twice in '84, and found, because the New York Times, everybody else was kind of saying there's reform going on in that government, Mm-hmm. So I went down there with a completely open mind, say, okay, I'll look for the reforms, let's see what's happening. And I interviewed a whole bunch of people and came to the conclusion that there was not reforms going on. First of all, and so I felt I needed to make a second trip down there and talk to the really hardcore people, most of whom were in exile or I had to meet with secretly, right, to really get the story, And so at the end of those conversations, I decided, this is not something that can be fixed. This whole apartheid system's got to go.
Yep.
So I'm already writing political music at that time. So I said, I'm gonna do something a little bit different on my next album. Instead of just doing it myself, I'm gonna bring in 5 or 6 people to kind of help out and make this case a little bit stronger. It was in that era of We Are the World and Do You Know It's Christmas, and there had been a couple of big records with multiple artists, and I ended up with 50 artists. I mean, we ended up with a very big, much bigger record than I intended. And there were 4 of us, equally important. I must mention their names: Danny Schechter, Arthur Baker, and Hart Perry, along with myself, and I explained that in detail.
Sure.
We won't go into it now, but basically, the thing that one of the things I'm proud of, aside from the fact that we were completely successful, which is very rare in politics, as you know, especially international liberation politics.
That's
I mean, you get 2 inches and then you get knocked back an inch. You know what I mean? You get 2 feet and you get knocked back. This was a complete rare victory. We ended up succeeding in overriding a Ronald Reagan veto, which was almost impossible to do. We got Mandela out of jail. I mean, we got rid of that entire government, and it was an amazing success. But one of the many things I was proud of, though, was at that time this new thing called rap music had started, and people were putting it down, and the industry was trying to just squelch it before it started.
Right.
And I had watched Marvin Gaye struggle, in the early 70s, trying to get what's going on out, fighting with Berry Gordy, because Berry Gordy did not want him to be political.
That's true.
Black artists were not encouraged to be political.
That's right. That's right.
It was a very, very, very rare. We had Gil Scott-Heron and we had the Last Poets, and not a whole lot else. Okay, because and those cats were not in mainstream, rock, of course, or soul. Gil was kind of in jazz. Last Poets were, literally the first rappers, really. But I watched Marvin Gaye, struggle to get that out, and then Stevie Wonder got involved, saying some things. But basically, black artists were just not encouraged to be political or socially minded or express themselves particularly in any way other than love songs. I mean, that was just the way the industry was. And the black, even the black owners, the Berry Gordys of the world, followed that rule. I mean, they did not want to break that rule and risk their commercial success.
Yeah.
So that's why he argued with Marvin Gaye, and of course Marvin Gaye won that argument. Luckily for all of us, and Berry Gordy admitted that he was wrong.
But in that moment, you saw rap coming into its own, and that's the story I want to hear when we come forward. Now, remaining moments with Stephen, he's right about this. Berry Gordy did not want. They fought about this, man. He did not want Marvin to put out that "What's Going On" album. He did not want it. Motown had made a bunch of money. You heard Stephen say earlier they were playing music that was amenable and affable to white people. Berry Gordy was not trying to. It wasn't broken. He wasn't trying to fix it. Marvin thankfully won that fight, as Stephen said. But I want to hear the rap part of this story and how Stephen brought that inculcated that into United Artists Against Apartheid. We'll do that when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward?
Because he's not going back.
And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
In California, the use of man-made stone is causing workers to get silicosis. Silicosis is a fatal disease caused by breathing in silica dust from cutting, polishing, or grinding man-made stone. To prevent silicosis, employers must provide their workers proper equipment, including water systems and NIOSH-approved respirators. Stop dusty and deadly practices. Learn more at worksafewithsilica.org. This is a message from Cal OSHA.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Are you facing an unexpected financial emergency? You need WeFixMoney.com. WeFixMoney.com can help you get up to $3,000 fast. WeFixMoney.com is free to use, available 24/7, and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Go to the name you trust, WeFixMoney.com. If you need emergency cash up to $3,000 for bills or anything else, type WeFixMoney.com directly into your browser. That's WeFixMoney.com.
More honesty than you can handle.
More empowerment than you can imagine.
You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and legendary guitarist Steven Van Zandt. Steven, I got a tight 3 minutes left. I want to hear this rap story. Give it to me right quick.
All right. So I've been trying to find Melly Mel, who happened to be my favorite early rapper, and I couldn't find him. But I'd hooked up with Arthur Baker. And basically, most of the Sun City record was Arthur Baker's phone book, and he knew Mel, so we got Mel down, and Duke Booty and a whole bunch of rappers, and I wanted to make sure that they were part of this thing because for the first time, black artists were being encouraged to express themselves. Okay, so I wanted to encourage this, even though the industry was not encouraging it.
Yeah.
So we made sure that there were rappers put on the record, and man, I had people come up to me saying, "You're putting Melly Mel next to Miles Davis, next to David Ruffin, next to Jackson Brown, next to Bob Dylan," and I said, "Yes, I am." Yes, I am, because that's how strongly I feel about it, and sure enough, I prove it to be correct, rap went a lot of different directions, but mostly, and Melly Mel talks about it in the documentary, how Sun City really put rap, with these big successful rock and roll and salsa and jazz people for the first time, and really helped that credibility get established for the first time in Sun City.
That Sun City project is classic, and everybody who's anybody was on it, but it wouldn't have happened without Steven Van Zandt. And there's some great footage of Van Zandt and Mandela in this documentary, but he did his part as an artist to get other artists involved in bringing down apartheid in South Africa. My time is up, and again, I haven't even scratched the surface on all that you're going to experience when you. And I that's what this really is. It really ain't a documentary; it's an experience. But you should check it out. It's called Steven Van Zandt Disciple. It's streaming now on Max. Steven, I have enjoyed this immensely, as I always do. Thank you for your work and your witness all these years. You're a bad man, and I love you, brother.
Tavis, real quick, man. We spoken one time before when you had a TV show.
Yes.
And I miss you ever since. And I'm not saying this because we're here together, but I've done all the interviews, all the late night stuff, all my whole life. Back in the day. You were always my favorite interview, okay? Because you are different. You are one of the few interviewers that actually listens, okay, while you're having a conversation. You are in the moment, and I'm telling you, that's a rare thing, a rare gift. And I always enjoy talking to you. You've always been my favorite interview that I've ever done. And as soon as I saw your name come up, I was like, man, get me to Tavis immediately, because I love talking to you, man. Really, for real.
Steven Van Zandt, you were too kind. My mama's smiling ear to ear right now. I love you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a great rest of the day, my friend. Be well.
You too, man.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The judge who oversaw Donald back on the job in Golden Valley, he originally was charged with shooting and killing Ricky Cobb